Okay, this is fascinating. It's a museum of some of the machinery used in this farming community. What it was used for, who knows? This looks like the kind of device that would turn other components, like we've seen, for example, in the water wheels. So that gear would have been tied to another gear to the water wheel, causing this thing to make other arms go up and down to pound the grain, for example. I don't know what this is. It could be a device for shifting water from one area elevation to another elevation. You can see what is either gear driven or water driven down there. These paddles perhaps coming down at this end and taking water or grain or something like that up that chute. But a rather detailed piece of machinery made out of wood, the only material available to them for this kind of thing. Look at how the chaining mechanism is again made out of wood. The group has caught up with me, so I'm going to kind of let them go past. Just some old hose. Again, if this is a water wheel or if it serves some other function, like maybe it was dragged. See the cable for dragging, maybe dragged and broke up the soil a little bit, made it easier. And this one, maybe with a weight on it, was working like a plow or a harrow. This, a rake. You wonder if these ideas were taken from what at that time was modern Western equipment that they then modified their idea to the materials that they had. A wood little bucket. This looks like 2 or 3 extra drawers on top of the main one. Here a grinding wheel, this time using that circular or the cylinder, but also has this yoke on it. Whether this was somehow for 2 humans to push or whether it was for an oxen, I don't know. This is a wood bucket, nicely carved, as you can see, spherical almost, with metal on the outside to give it integrity. Same apparently with that design. I saw one of these at a distance in use, but I didn't know what product they were throwing into it. Here perhaps some kind of press. You can see that, yeah, it looks like this one's the bucket, and maybe this was lifted up and then pushed down with weight in it, maybe water. And then this wood little fins designed to do whatever it did to whatever it was doing it to. And maybe this was used to, well, yes, to rotate this whole thing around at the same time. Maybe that's where the rotation came from, as you moved this thing around on those 4 devices. Huh, that's interesting. Are those wooden nuts? I've seen lots of grinding wheels, but I haven't seen how they're used. Notice this. I think then that maybe what this hole over here was for, they put a hole there. Then when you dragged like this, you could get some movement that way. This became your lever, although it should be much longer to do what I'm describing, so maybe not. This thing used to perhaps swing this arm back and somehow get it to rotate. I assume it must have rotated. So if there's a pivot point in here, down the center, perhaps this being offset causes the rotation, and that accounts for these additional holes that I've often seen. Unlike this one now, here, it would appear that there might be a center hole holding this thing in line with this lower rock, and then this hole was where you dropped the seed down through. I don't know. Well, this looks like a wheelbarrow, of course, and it has a wheel in the center. But why that structure around it? Was it to protect the wheel against perhaps the stuff that was carried on it, whatever that was? Here another one of these clever devices, probably for taking the peel and seeds perhaps out of something. A kind of tourist shop alley down through here. He's convinced he's not familiar with what's going on here, and his only response is to bark, or to growl a bit. Here another water wheel. Here a very simple version of what we've seen before, all out of wood. Notice this uses a metal gearing, but once upon a time, certainly it used only the wood. So I guess I'm on my way out of this town. Here what looks like a large, long greenhouse structure. Maybe with a bridge down there, and then a continuation of that greenhouse design, if in fact that's what it is. Wrong on all counts but the bridge idea. It's cement and it's designed to cover this waterway, and equal length goes behind me. But why? Is it possible that it was thought the city or the town would continue out this way at some point in time? And this would just become another section of the town? This appears to be a old pathway of the river, abandoned now. Huh. Interesting. Even the bridge goes unused, except by me in a moment, because people just cross this little bridge of dirt across those three big drainage pipes.